Hey, welcome. I'm out for a ride on a beautiful Sunday morning out here in the desert. That's fun. Anyways, it's a nice day here. It's raining a little bit more toward the coast. I just wanted to take a moment and give an update on my thoughts on my 2012 first generation Suzuki V-Strom. On this ride, I passed a significant marker on my odometer. Let me show you that. 85,000 miles. So what does that mean? 85,000 miles marks the point at which I should do another valve tappet clearance check. This would be the fifth in the lifetime of this motorcycle, and frankly the fifth that I've done. And so let's see how the engine is holding up internally. I'll do some of the regular checks that I do on these long-term review videos that I do on this Suzuki. Last one I did was at 70,000 miles. If you want to check that out, you can view it here. And other than that, I'm going to finish out this ride. I'll go back to the Shopisteri and we'll take the bike apart and see how it's holding up. And I'll give you my thoughts on what I'm still thinking about this now 13-year-old motorcycle. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. Okay, welcome back to the Shopisteri. It was a nice ride. For those of you who are coming to this video and maybe my channel for the first time, I just want to let you know what we're about to do here. I've done these videos before where I do long-term reviews of my first generation Suzuki V-Strom. The first one I did was at 50,000 miles, and if you're interested, you can watch that video here. That was the point at which I began feeling that, this bike had enough age on it to where it represented a high mile version of the bike. And I know a lot of people are looking at maybe purchasing these things on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, wherever you buy used motorcycles, with even lower miles than that, but maybe like 30 or 40,000, and thinking, gee, what kind of trouble am I perhaps getting myself into? So I did that 50,000 mile video, and I've been doing them ever since, every time I do a valve clearance check, which for this bike is every 15,000 miles. And one in there, the last one I did was at 71,000 miles, which is kind of an odd number. That video is here. I only did that because I was about to embark on a cross-country trip. So I was looking at doing like 8,500 miles in a single trip, and didn't want to go out, somewhere in that trip I would have needed a valve check, and I just did it before I left. So it's been about 15,000 miles since I did that last check. I did that trip. If you'd like to watch the entire trip, I did a whole series on it. I went from Los Angeles here on the West Coast, dipped my toes in the ocean, and then drove to Portland, Maine on a diagonal across the country, visiting national parks and camping along the way, some hotel, motel rooms to grab a shower, and visited some interesting characters, including my old shop teacher, who I named my Cafe Racer after, because he inspired me to get into working on machines and working with my hands and metal. His name was Mr. Corton. So that series can be found here, and you can follow along that entire trip if you'd like. So let's get into it. 85,000 miles. What do I do on these? Well, I take the bike apart and pull the top off of the cylinders, and I look at my valve clearances because I have to anyways. I have a long history with this bike. I bought it at 2,300 miles, so not brand new, but nearly, and I've had it ever since. I've been running the exact same oil in this bike the entire time. If you're interested in a long-term review of the oil I'm using, it's cheap stuff. You can see that video here. And what else? Valve clearance check. Oh, and I like to check the compression on the engine each time I do one of these, just so I've got some metrics around how the bike is doing. What I can tell you in general is the bike has treated me really well over that time. I've got 85,000 miles on this bike. I'm long past the time where most guys, including myself, begin to start thinking about, let's trade it in, get something lower miles, something new, you know, a refresh. And I just can't justify it because this bike keeps treating me with reliability, fun factor. It's still nimble, quick, powerful. It's everything you need in a bike. You know, if you're going to own a single motorcycle, I think a Suzuki V-Strom is a brilliant choice because it does everything pretty darn well. Is it the fastest bike? No. Is it the most powerful bike? No. Is it the, you know, greatest off-road adventure bike? No. But does it do all of those things pretty darn well? Yes, it does. I can keep up with anything out there. Enough of that. I love the bike. What have I had to repair on this bike along the way? The short answer is absolutely nothing that isn't considered a regular maintenance item anyways. So I have replaced chains, I have replaced brake pads, I have replaced brake discs, one of them as it got thin over time, but that's normal wear. Change the oil, put gas in it, air filters, change the fluids in the clutch system and the brakes. One battery, just because batteries are good for, maybe 5 or 6 years if you're treating them well. So, I got a 13-year-old motorcycle here. I did need to put a battery in it, no surprise. And that's it. I'm still running on the original clutch. I have not changed that at all. I haven't changed light bulbs, blinkers, turn signals, however you want to refer to them, headlights, nothing. In regards to the clutch, let me talk about if you've researched these bikes at all, you can read out there on the interwebs that there's something called chutter, or sometimes people refer to it as idle hammer with these bikes. It is a subtle kind of feeling when the clutch is released, so the plates are together and engaged. In neutral, you'll feel it maybe at a stoplight. It's just this slight little vibration. When you pull in the clutch, it goes away because the plates have separated, and it's according to some, it's a manufacturer's defect in the clutch basket. I don't know if I'd call something that A, has never put me on the side of the road, B, I've never read anyone saying that this put them on the side of the road, meaning that the bike stopped working for them on a trip. Do I feel it? I have not felt it in this bike until somewhere on that trip I took between 71,000 miles and now at 85. I'm just beginning to feel it. Am I doing anything about it right now? No. To be continued there. Somewhere in the future of Urban Monk TV, there'll be a video on that issue and what I choose to do about it, if anything. But for now, even at 85,000 miles, I'm still using the original clutch, and everything works Enough on clutch chutter or idle hammer. I I don't see it as something to be concerned about when buying one of these motorcycles used. It's never gotten in the way of me enjoying a good time on this bike. Let's get into it. I'm gonna take the bike apart and get down to the engine. I have a video on how to do this, so I'm not gonna show it here. You can watch that. I don't know how many more pop-up links I have in this video, but you can watch that here, or just find it in my my history. I also have a time-lapse video on just kind of quickly taking the fairings and the tank and everything apart to strip this bike down. About 45 minutes once you know what you're doing. It's not that big a deal. Let's go. Okay, so first bit of reporting on the, oh, I already screwed that up. This was the rear, so flip this. Intake and exhaust, correct specifications between 0.1 and 0.2 and 0.2 and 0.3. I am between 0.1 and 0.2, and I'm between 0.2 and 0.3. On the rear, sorry, I should have put this information down here, so I'll transpose this in my notes, but rear, no adjustments necessary to valve clearances at this point. Okay, so what can I learn from comparing the past to now? Last time I was in here and did a valve check, we were at 71,000 miles. I did replace some exhaust shims back then. In this cylinder, I replaced with the next increment down to widen that gap. I replaced both of the exhaust, and that left me at 0.28 millimeters, and I'm now at 0.23, so I have experienced a little bit of wear since then, but I'm still in spec. And the question is, how many more times can I do that? Well, there are a lot more shim sizes available in the whole family of increments. I got a long way to go, if that makes sense to you. I hope that it does. But right now, no adjustment. From the adjustments I made at 71,000, which were the first time I had ever done adjustments on this cylinder for any shims, and you know, since then, no adjustment necessary. I'll end up going to the next incremental check, which is going to be at 100,000 miles. So doing pretty well. Notable on the intake, I have never replaced an intake shim in this bike ever. So those valves are not wearing whatsoever. Strong words, but the numbers back it up. Okay, so back to my notes. made the switch from front and rear and got that straight. Measured my front valve clearances, and no adjustments necessary is the short answer. Essentially, all my readings are the same as they were almost 15,000 miles ago. You know, what can I say? I'm going to go to 100,000 miles before I do any more adjustments, so that means 30,000 miles between valve, tappet, shim adjustments. As far as wear items internal to the engine go, well, valves wear, like that's normal, and piston rings and the clearance between the piston rings and the cylinder walls wears. I'm not seeing a whole lot of evidence of much wear after 85,000 miles. So now let's look at compression in this rear cylinder. Gotta put this somewhere where it doesn't interfere with the movement of things. Alright, compression test. Watching over here, full throttle. $170 something. It's slowly leaking out. I probably don't have this hose in there tight. It was way up, almost 180. I'm gonna call it 175 or maybe 170. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, 170-ish. Pretty good for a bike with 85,000 miles on it. I'm okay with the rear cylinder. I'm going to button that back up. We'll start working on the front cylinder. So front cylinder compression now. There I'm at about 130. So thinking about, whoa, wait a minute, last time I checked that it was 172 psi. Now I'm at 130. That's a big swing, and I would notice a performance issue if that were the case. So what did I do wrong? I did not have the throttle open when I turned it over. So let's do that again. Big difference when you have the throttle open. 172 again, so no loss in compression. So compression's still good, valve clearance is still good. Gone through all the list of, you know, normal wear items, and yes, you know, chains, brake pads, sprockets, fluids. I've changed all of that, but things that are not normal wear, external to the frame, chassis, all of that, nothing. Not even light bulbs. Tires, sure. The clutch, still original clutch at 85,000 miles. Mind you, I left fully loaded with a tent and, you know, barely a plan to go across country. When this bike already had 71,000 miles on it, I headed out across the United States with the same clutch that's been in this bike since the factory. Now I'm back from that trip years down the road, many miles down the road, still same clutch. Enough on the clutch. What am I noticing from an oil consumption standpoint? I will say that after 85,000 miles, there is the slightest amount of oil consumption happening. Meaning I'm adding, like, you know, I'm not real accurately measuring this, but somewhere around 2,500 miles on the oil. I'll add, boy, half a cup, you know, 8 fluid ounces, I don't know, a little. It's just a top off, essentially. So a little bit of wear starting to show in oil consumption. I'm not concerned about it. Oil is very cheap. I just watch the level. Hey, that's it. I love my V-Strom. tires, oil, fluids, brake pads once in a while, a chain once in a great while. I get about 22,000 miles out of a chain, roughly, depends. Sprockets last a long time. It's a great value motorcycle, and I keep thinking maybe I should upgrade. I just don't have a reason to. I have a perfectly good, reliable, capable, fun machine that I already own, and there's absolutely no reason to get another one. There's my 85,000 mile synopsis. Hey, if you guys like motorcycles and stories about building motorcycles, or just falling in love with them, Creating Mr. Corton is my book. You can find it on urbanmonktv.com or on Amazon. And I have previous videos of reviews on this motorcycle. I've got all kinds of maintenance videos on how to change chains, how to change brake fluid, flush the clutch, blah, blah, blah. If you have a V-Strom or you're about to buy one, I've got a lot of resources for you to maintain your own bike, save a lot of money from having it serviced. The maintenance stuff is pretty easy on these things, and they treat you well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next video. I've got one coming up on a maintenance item for the V-Strom. Thanks for watching.